لله رب العالمين
والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned that Allah Tabarak Ta'ala's system is, for example, in this world, لِكُلِّ دَاءٍ دَوَاءٍ. For every sickness Allah Tabarak Ta'ala sent down in the world, allowed to spread in the world, Allah sent a cure. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala put powers in the hand of the shayateen. When the devil said, لَآتِيَنَّهُمْ مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ, I will attack them from the front and behind, from on the right, from on the left. Allah is Allah. If Allah wanted to say you will not attack them, then we will have no problems at all. Then me and you will be living like angels. We will have no feelings, no desires, there will be no corruption, there will be no fights, there will be no arguments, no jealousy. It will not be this waswas, the one who blows a thought, and then the thought creates like a volcano. Yesterday there was no fight, today there's a major fight. You say, what happened? You said, one shaitan got involved. The devil said, I will attack them from every side. وَلَعَامُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. I will be the one who will order it must happen. And on my order, they will change how you created them also. The man will want to look like a woman. The woman will want to look like a man. One will want to behave like the other. He said, I will do it. Again, if Allah Tabarak Ta'ala wanted, Allah would have said no. And he wouldn't have. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala said, and I'll give you the chance. I will give you time till Qiyamah, just before Qiyamah. I will give you power, the power of the voice, the power of arms, weapons, armies. I'll give you a lot. Allah Ta'ala said, but still you will find it. You will make so much of effort. But there will always be certain servants of mine who will not fall for your plan. They will just move out of the way and they will reach their Allah. When Allah Ta'ala makes a promise, like Allah made the promise, Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikr, we reveal this Quran that the whole world knows. And He said, Wa inna lahu lahafidhun, we will ensure it's looked after. 1,400 years plus have gone, even they will admit no change has ever taken place in Quran. And they will also admit in every error they have made an effort to change Quran. Not that they never make an effort. Every error they make the effort to change Quran. They have never ever managed. Why? When Allah says something, Allah makes the arrangements. Allah made arrangements of hafiz of Quran and how many there are. Young boys memorizing Quran. People learning the meaning of Quran. People teaching Quran. An attraction was created. They will never understand what makes a boy wake up in the morning, go for his hifz class. Everyone else is out enjoying himself. But for this boy, I need to finish my hifz. Where are you going now? I'm going to hifz class. Another 2 hours. Then what you going to do at night? I'm going to make my door. Again, someone will say, what you get out of it? Are you getting paid? The boy says, I don't know also. But I just like Quran. It was called the attraction Allah put in Quran. When Allah said, I will look after Quran, Allah created and we see the word. Similarly, Allah Ta'ala made a promise that no matter how strong the call of the devil will be, there will also be a call of Almighty Allah. And that will be able to always pull people back to their markaz, to their center. In the calls that Allah Ta'ala created for me and you, the first which we all speak about, it is known as the house of Allah. Inna awwala bayti wudi'a lin-nas lilladhi bi Bakkah. Allah says the first house that we established for the entire mankind, in which is great amount of guidance, hudal lin-nas, in which it is guidance which is in huge amounts. Allah said it is the one, it is Bakkah. Bakkah means Makkah Mukarram. We will speak a little bit about that and then we will speak about Medina Munawwara. Allah Ta'ala created 2 centers for the people of this ummah. You normally have what is called the center point, which is from where the electricity goes out. If anything happens to that station, then everyone will suffer. But as long as that station is functioning, then we only need the pipes, the wires running, that they don't get stolen. In the system, Allah Ta'ala made it that you're not going to find wires, spiritual wires. It works like that button, that when you face it to something, the connection it finds on itself. Spiritual, there's no wire, so no one can steal it. Otherwise, the devil would have cut it long time. There is no wire in this. It is a spiritual connection. But how does it work? First was Allah Ta'ala's beauty had to be seen in this world. Because for man to get attracted, you say you want to get married, let's go see the girl. He wants to see. But Almighty Allah's Zat, Allah's beauty is such that the being of Allah in this world do not go. Allah's Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, not this being of Allah, if a creation of Jannah has to be allowed to just come into this world, he said, forget coming in the world, if they just have to let their scarf hang in what is called our trivial world, he said the hanging of the scarf will outshine the sun. Hanging of the scarf. If that woman has to come, it comes in the narration, a Hafiz of Quran, his father and mother will be given a crown on that day. The brilliance of the crown will outshine the sun. Now you bring that crown in this world. The sun, which they say is so far, although their numbers, we don't really believe in their numbers too much. This is something that, remember, when NASA or the newspapers or the Western world ever give numbers, then their numbers can be just adding zeros. It can be from 100 to 1,000,000. They got no worry about adding zeros. They will say it is so many, 50 billion, trillion years ago. Say, who counted? No one counted. It's just numbers. They might tell you we got machines to work out that number. You ask the person who's sitting on the machine. If somebody else had to sit on the machine, he'll say, I will give another number there. So the numbers we don't really believe so much in, but we know the sun is far. The sun is not near, the sun is far. And the heat of the sun, when it gets severe like this last week, we all knew what happened. Bring that sun in someone's house. Allah's Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said the crown will shine such, like the sun if it was brought in the house of someone. What would happen there? In this world, forget the house, the whole town will burn. But in that world, so when one crown of that world cannot enter in this world, where will Allah Ta'ala's being? How is going to be shown in this world? Allah Ta'ala made a system which they call, the scholars call it tajalli. In English, the best we can find for it is you can call it a waterfall of the beauty of Almighty Allah. A waterfall which you cannot see, but you can see. This is the beauty. The place that was going to hold this waterfall is what we call the building of the Kaaba. Whether the building was there or not there, from the day Allah created the earth, Allah Ta'ala started that waterfall. Comes in the narrations, angels made tawaf around this. And it continued falling and falling and falling. It was towards this brilliance of the beauty of Allah. It is called Jamal, beauty, and Jalal, honor. The Anbiya alayhi salam would travel. In every era, Nuh alayhi salam, the floods came. The boat of Nuh alayhi salam made tawaf around this area. There was no Kaaba. Around the area, tawaf was being made in the boats. From Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam's time, the land was known, the area was known, the exact spot was not known. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam marked again the exact spot. People were making a very big tawaf. Now again it became smaller. Exact spot where Allah's special tajalli falls. Whoever came to that area, Ibrahim alayhi salam said, I'll make the call. Allah Ta'ala said, we'll send the world. You will see them coming, min kulli fajjin amiq, from far and wide they will be coming. You will see them coming on foot, you will see them coming on camel, on donkey. They used to go up the mountain, down the mountain, up the mountain, down the mountain. Someone would say, what are they getting in this land? When the man would come, at that time how we see the Kaaba was not the Kaaba. The building, the bricks was something completely different. There was a khilaf, but not like our covering. But the brilliance and the beauty of the Kaaba which they enjoyed is what we enjoyed. They only looked at the building, but they all said it is something besides the building that has brought me from my land for a journey of 6 months. And when I saw it, I said, journey is fulfilled. It was worth the effort. We make that effort. We go for Umrah, we go for Hajj. Every year the price of it is just going higher. But you will never hear people will say, we'll boycott the Hajj. You'll never hear that. Even in South Africa, they boycott everything. But you'll never hear them saying, we're boycotting Hajj. It's gone too expensive. We'll bring it down the system. This year, no one goes for Hajj. The people will say, you know what, I'm going for Hajj. There's a certain call in this, that no matter how much was spent, when the individual lands in front of the Kaaba, he says it was worth every cent. Every cent. What does he see but Allah's special waterfall of beauty as it falls on the Kaaba? It's a waterfall. And a waterfall has the effect of that the drops spill. We visited something called Niagara Falls. Zimbabwe also got a beautiful falls, but Niagara Falls is something else. So you go in the boat. You're going to go close to Niagara Falls, close. Before even going, when you're high on the top there, as this water is falling, then it's lifting, you're actually getting like the rain coming after it. When you're standing there, the water that falls lifts, you're feeling it. But when you're in the boat, from far, you put on your raincoats. And with that raincoat, you know you're going to get wet. You go there to get wet. No one is under the Niagara Fall. You're far away from it, but the water finds you. When this brilliance of Allah Ta'ala falls on the Kaaba, then it falls on the people around. Allah's Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, daily 100, and here 100 was meant for us to understand. In the Arabic language, sometimes they say 70. 70 means Lord. The word 100, when it would come, it would mean numbers that you cannot imagine falls onto the house of Allah. And then from there it gets distributed. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the one looking at the Kaaba, the one making tawaf around the Kaaba, the one just reading Salah towards the Kaaba, for every one of them something is falling. And that waterfall is hitting. If a man can come back from Niagara Falls and he said, you know, I went there and I never got wet, you will say you never went there. You can put on what you want to, but something is going to find you. That water comes. In this land, Allah Ta'ala, however, He made a system a little different. That if the individual doesn't want to get wet, then Allah will ensure what falls on the Kaaba will not touch him. Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab also sat around the Kaaba. They sat with their backs against the Kaaba. From that time already it was falling, but they had closed their heart. And Almighty Allah's system is, if you don't want, we won't send. Brilliance, when it falls on the Kaaba, it falls on the people around. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam spoke about the Haram. Ibrahim Alayhi Salam marked the Haram. Jibreel Alayhi Salam showed him the Haram is from here to here. In that area of the Haram, forget man, even animals. The land around Makkah Mukarramah was desert. In the desert you have the animal running, you hunt the animal. Jibreel Alayhi Salam said, this is a Haram. If that animal you're chasing it, and he just runs into the area called Haram, the hunter is told, you cannot hunt this animal. This animal has entered into that area where the waterfall falls. The animal became honored. The grass, you want to cut the grass. The world was told, you want to cut the grass, you will pay a penalty. This is the grass of the Haram. What did the grass do? The grass said, all that happened is, what falls on the Kaaba, a little of it fell on me also. The grass became noble. The animal became noble. What about the man who goes around the Kaaba? He becomes so pure. Allah's Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when a man comes back from the house of Allah, you go and visit him. He said, and when you visit him, you ask him to make dua that Allah must forgive you. What made him so special suddenly? That he became the man whose du'as are heard by Almighty. So special. He was in that area. And Allah Ta'ala's kindness on the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that there will definitely be many people in this ummah who will not be allowed to go to the Kaaba. Very far it is. Very expensive it is. I don't have the time at the moment, but the desire will always be there to be by the Kaaba. For that individual, every ummah that came before, when they performed Salah, they faced Masjid al-Aqsa. Masjid al-Aqsa was the Qibla of all the ummahs before. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would look to the Kaaba, to the skies. قَدْ نَرَى تَقَلُّبَ وَجْهِكَ فِي السَّمَاءِ. When Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Makkah Mukarramah, Qibla was al-Aqsa. Despite the Qibla being Al-Aqsa, he would face Al-Aqsa by standing at one part of the Kaaba where you're facing the Kaaba and Al-Aqsa. His love for the Kaaba, that this is mine. Now when he comes to Medina Munawwara, he cannot do this. Now you can only face one direction. It's either to the Kaaba or to the Aqsa. Qibla is Al-Aqsa. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam faces Al-Aqsa. But he continues waiting for revelation. Waiting for revelation. قَدْ نَرَى تَقَلُّبَ وَجْهِكَ فِي السَّمَاءِ. Indeed, we have seen you always looking to the sky. When will the time come back that my Qibla becomes the Kaaba again? He enters Medina Munawwara. The Jews, their Qibla is Al-Aqsa. He has to show them that I am that Nabi that you have been promised. I also face Al-Aqsa. Few months will go in this manner, but the Jews, they're not going to change. And then the command comes from Allah, Basna. We showed them already that that was your Qibla. Now it is time to put yourself on the real Qibla, the Kaaba. And Nabi Sallallahu turns. With that, the honor for this ummah came, that even if you are unable to go to the Kaaba, when you will say Allahu Akbar and face the Kaaba, whatever is falling on the Kaaba will find you wherever you are in the world. Wherever. You put on your radio from South Africa and you said, Radio Makkah I got. Sometimes you say, it's not so clear. Somebody else says, I got very clear reception. You say, what's the problem? You say, the antenna. You say, it just needs to move it a little bit. Which means that it is in the air, it only needs me to connect. From the Kaaba, it is in the air. And it just needs me and you to stand on that connection. When we say Allahu Akbar, where our body is facing the place where every body came from. Our bodies were made from sand. And every sand was made from the first sand that was created was the area of the Kaaba. From there it spread out. The markaz, the center of every sand is the Kaaba. When we stand facing it, you say to your body, you facing your origin. I just need now my soul also to face where it's all happening. The body is already there. If that soul connects, you will find what's falling on the Kaaba will find you also. And in this year, what Allah said, this is the house of Hidayah for mankind. Man will find where the devil calls. Then the beauty of Allah that falls on the Kaaba also calls. After every Salah, he go back in the world, he is wiped again. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the example of 5 times Salah is like the example of a man who got water in front of his house. Every time he needs to leave, he has to go in that water. He said, هَلْ يَبْقَى مِنْ دَرَنِهِ شَيْءٍ. What do you think? He said, do you think this man will ever be dusty and dirty? Every time he has to go in the water and then come out. Again it's clean. He comes home, he goes in the water and he comes 5 times a day, he takes his bath. This 5 times Salah was the spiritual bath. But how it was going to happen is I cannot be 5 times a day in front of the Kaaba, but I can be 5 times a day connected to the Kaaba. Allah Ta'ala make it that me and you can connect. The system of the body Allah Ta'ala made it is to connect with something which is not man. Is a little harder than connecting with something which is man. Understand it? Example, the boy wants to get married. You will take him to an insan. Man will get married to man. Although there are people in this world where the man married the jinn, or the jinniya, the jinn married a woman. And it's a very funny system, like how they did it, we still don't know. They asked Imam Malik rahimullah, the man wants permission to marry a jinn. Imam Malik rahimullah said, hey, I don't know about this, but tell me when the child is walking around now, then someone's going to ask him, who's your daddy? He said, you can't see him. You can't see him. How are you going to see him? He says, this is something funny you're trying to do. He said, how are you going to relate? Man relates with man, jinn relates with jinn. For man to connect with the Kaaba is how I explained, but it's not the easiest. Allah Ta'ala was going to make a second connection. This was called the connection of a man to the best of mankind. It was called the Ziyarah to Medina Munawwara. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam's demise was close, he announced, Man zarani ba'da mamati, whoever will visit me after my demise, فَكَأَنَّمَا زَارَنِي فِي حَيَاتِي, it is as though he has visited me while I am alive. He said that man who comes all the way to Makkah Mukarramah and he doesn't come to visit me, فَقَدْ جَفَانِي, has he forgotten about me? Has he turned his back to me? Why is he not coming? The person says, but Allah's Nabi passed away. Now what am I going to get in Medina Munawwara? Says, once upon a time it was the city of my beloved, but now my beloved is no longer there. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, you make sure you come to Medina Munawwara. On the heart of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Allah Ta'ala allowed another waterfall to fall on his heart. And with that waterfall, something else was going to happen. Another. But now you can relate man to man, heart to heart. The individual who comes to Medina Munawwara, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us, connect to me also. In Salah we connect to the Kaaba and we get a lot from the Kaaba. And thereafter he said to me and you, connect to the Nabi of Allah. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Connection to the Nabi of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was going to be same like connection to the Kaaba. At first man was told, whenever you can come and visit me. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam also knew it's very expensive. He knew that. And he knew it's always going to be expensive. That's why he mentioned, whoever will follow Hajj after Hajj, Umrah after Umrah, Hajj after Umrah, which is expensive. He says, Allah will not bring poverty on that person. Allah will not bring poverty. Meaning he knew it's expensive. It's like the father saying, come and visit me. Don't worry, I know petrol is expensive. But don't worry, I also know your account. So after you visit me a few times, I'll put money back in the account. How we hear about F&B said they'll give us 2 rand on a liter. Whether they give it to people or not, who knows. But the person says, now he's happy, he's filling petrol. It's expensive, but they'll never say, I'll pay you back everything. Will the world ever say that? Fala by us and after 1 year we'll give you back everything. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the one going for Hajj and Umrah, he must never fear poverty. Allah will give back everything. And he'll be making it again and again. And the price will go higher and Allah will give more. So come and visit me. Allah make it, all of us make this intention. To visit the Rasul of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. To stand in front. Some people will look at someone and say, you going to Medina. You. Look at your life. You will say that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he mentioned, he said, come and visit. But really what he meant was, don't come and visit, come for an operation. Come for an operation. So he says, I need the operation the most. Where some person says, I'm going to England for operation. I'm going to Canada. India is good. The doctors are good. The best spiritual doctor the world has ever seen is the Rasul of Allah. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Come. People entered Medina Munawwara. In whatever condition they were, they stood in front of the Rawdah. They said, As-salatu was-salamu alayka ya Rasulullah. And when they left Medina Munawwara, their whole life changed. Whole life changed. How the operation takes place, we will never understand, because it's called a spiritual operation. There is no tools, there is no instruments, there is no cutting, there is no bleeding. Something happens when the individual stands there, that whatever dirt had been filled up by the devil and the world of the devil, in one spiritual operation, the entire thing changes. In Medina Munawwara, Makkah Mukarramah, there's an operation taking place. Medina Munawwara, there's an operation taking place. Allah make us, we go for that. And Allah's Nabi Sallallahu in kindness, as He knew everyone can't come to the Kaaba, so He said, no problem, with Salah you'll connect to the Kaaba, but how about connecting to Medina Munawwara? Nabi Sallallahu said, wherever you are in the world, na'a, and whoever is far, He said, the one who is in my haram, in my masjid, and he sends a salam to me, he says, I hear it and there's no barrier between him and me. I hear it directly, I receive it, I send a salam back to him, I make a dua for him. He said, but the one who is far and he wants to connect, he will just have to send a salam to me. An angel will bring it. Whether he says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, any, he says, sallallahu ala nabi, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, any salam which we call durood, which we call it salawat ala nabi, anyone, he says, he just says, the angel takes immediately. The angel brings it to me. As the Kaaba continues giving out its splashes, the Rasul of Allah's heart also continues giving out its splashes. Between these two splashes, two waterfalls, me and you are now standing. The devil says, you are mine. And by Almighty Allah and the Rasul of Allah, the announcement is, but water will continue for you. Whoever goes in that water will become clean again. The devil will make dirty, the waterfall will make clean. Devil will make dirty, the waterfall will make clean. So much in this water, finally the devil will get fed up and just leave. This individual will find his Allah. Allah made the arrangements for us to reach Allah. Allah allow us to take full benefit of this. Connect to the Kaaba in Salah, and always say, and Allah, I want to connect to the Kaaba live also. Connect to the Rasul of Allah when thinking of him, making durood, and always say, and I need to connect live also. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala take all of us again and again for ziyarats of the Mubarak lands, to stand in front of his house, to send our salam directly to the Rasul of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Before we start our sunnah, let's move forward closer.